Hi there, and welcome to the Chosen Business Owners podcast. I am your host, Michelle Reel, and I have the pleasure of speaking today with Mario Cambardella, and he is the CEO and founder of Apathy, and he is going to tell us just how they got started. It's really an interesting story. Him and I have chatted a little bit here before, and I'm excited. So welcome to the program, Mario.
Well, Michelle, thank you so much. Enjoy your podcast.
Yeah, thanks. So I am excited to hear, first of all, or for you to tell our guests how you got started in Apathy and just where you guys are headed, how your entrepreneurial journey started. So if you could just share a little bit about your background and how all this got to be a company.
Yeah, for sure. And so I'm like most entrepreneurs. I have a lot of startup ideas and overcommit myself. So I remember it was October of 18. And my other startup was born. Her name is Perry Marie. She's now 4.5. And I remember looking at her crib and kind of rocking her to sleep and just knowing that I had to start my own business and having this feeling like I had to do something for her now. Everything that I did before that was for me and of course, my wife. But I knew I had to do something else. And so I did have a wonderful job. I was the city of Atlanta and the nation's first urban agriculture director. So I worked on farms and gardens all over the city. It really got to be on this mission-based program to bring to eliminate food deserts across the city, and I really enjoyed that work. But I was doing it for myself, really, because I was really in a passionate pursuit of really identifying how landscape can help some of society's ills. And then I took the opportunity to take a look at my beautiful daughter now and say, hey, I want to start something new. And I want to not lose track of this mission that I thought was great. But I needed to do something that built, hopefully in pursuit of more of a generational wealth for my family as well. And so it was October of 18, and I told my wife that I was going to leave my job by March of 2020. I gave you about 18 months. I don't know what was going to happen in March of 2020, but that's when I said, that's when it's going to happen. So I worked on a plant database, had this idea for what we call Servscape, which was a place-based e-commerce, online-only garden center where we would have API connections with all these farms, take all this data and sell all these plants online and deliver them, not ship it or anything like that, but actually just hand deliver all these plants. And we did that, and we launched March 10th, 2020. And the pandemic hit 3 days later, and we took off like a rocket because everybody wanted plants. So it was an amazing kind of fortunate, unfortunate timing, unfortunate for the world, but fortunate for our little company called Servscape. And for the next 2.5 years, 3 years, we were just on this rocket ship ride. We did Techstars, which was a national-based accelerator. We got a lot of angel funding. A lot of people in the Atlantic community really believed in what we were doing. We did a successful WeFunder campaign. And now we're launching Apathy, which is basically the best of all these technologies that we built for Servscape. And our scaling strategy is really to celebrate every grower or contractor or garden center around the nation with these technologies and tools that we've built for the last 4.5 years through Servscape, our proof of concept.
So tell me a little bit about, where did the vision come for this? Were you seeing something while you were out in your job for Atlanta, where you're working in the field and were you going to people's homes for the city of Atlanta, or where did the need come from? Where did you see this from?
Yeah, I would say, there was a confluence of a couple of things. And number one was I was a design builder. Prior to this, about 10 years ago, I was a design builder, had my own company and had about 4 employees. I was going out there doing some really cool landscape projects, very nice neighborhood in Atlanta, some institutional work. Well, I always had a choice. Now, could I leave my guys to do what they need to do and go to the plant store, which was, 45 minutes away with traffic, Or did I send one of them and I stay on the site? It was this very delicate decision because it was, mistakes could be had in either direction. So I kept on saying to myself, why can't I just order this like a pizza? Like, why can't this be just delivered to my job site? Why can't the local farm that's 3 hours away deliver it to me? Well, there wasn't critical mass. There was a lot of reasons, but I felt like technology could solve some of those. So that was number one. Number two was when I served as urban ag director at the city of Atlanta, I recognized that a number of these small growers just had 1 bushel of tomatoes or 1 bushel of this, 1 bushel of that. They didn't have the critical scale that they needed to go to market and really be successful to bring a lot of people from the city to that farmer's market. And I said, well, some of the smaller growers, they really should just do a digital farmer's market. And so through this idea of this digital farmer's market, now I floated these ideas to some of the growers in the area, and it was what was important to them was they wanted a cultural connection with their customers. They enjoy, even though they didn't make much money, they enjoyed having this meet the customer, meet their resident or who they were growing for experience. So it didn't work for them. And I heard that and I just kind of stepped back, but it allowed me to kind of think through some of the technological conditions that were going to be needed to create essentially what we now refer to as a data nursery and a really systemic way in which to sync live plants across a geography.
So how does the database work? I'm a customer or I'm a homeowner. So is this mainly a database for homeowners? Is it a database for other businesses? How does the database work?
So it just looks like an e-commerce store. So you want to go shopping, like you need groceries. Like it works just like Instacart. So if you need to go shopping, say you're a homeowner and you just had some trees cut down and you really want to put back, a tree that maybe you can't find at a garden center, or maybe the size you can't find at a garden center, because Surfscape can do anywhere from a 4-inch pot to a 40-foot tree. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter anymore. All those conditions mattered because they had a place-based sort of experience to purchase. And because the place-based experience, when I say place-based, like brick and mortar, a brick and mortar type situation, they had limitations on what type of size and material they could adequately manage in a yard with machinery and all that kind of stuff. So you go to Surfscape, you can buy a 4-foot tree or a 40-foot tree. It doesn't matter. And it welcomes growers that are growing niche things. Maybe you just grow native stuff. But to go back to your question, like you can be either. You can log in and be a contractor and see your contractor pricing, or you could be a homeowner and not know what you're doing and buy a 40-foot tree. You're going to get a call from the staff and say, hey, do you know that this is 40 feet? Do you have a licensed landscape contractor to install it for you? And now Surfscape has a button where you just click a button and have it installed for you by a licensed contractor. Again, this is the syncing of services across product and people so that anybody can get what they want.
Interesting. And so, for instance, we own a tree service. Our tree service goes out, like you were just saying, we remove a tree. We get this all the time. And they say, I want to replant a tree in that same spot or within a couple feet of that spot. And we, as the contractor, could say, great, go to Surfscape, log in. I'm assuming they get some code that says they're connected with us or that kind of a thing, and then and maybe you can explain that a little bit. And then they go in, they can order their tree. If we can't plant the tree or if our particular service doesn't offer that, then you guys would hook them up with someone to do that, because that's a big thing people don't know. And then let's say the tree arrives and it's not looking the best or it's not healthy looking. Well, is it real easy for them to get that taken back, or how does that whole process work? Because like when you go down to the nursery, they give you a warranty, but then you got to lug the tree back there, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, just like any business, there's going to be a warranty option, but then also there's going to be a guarantee in terms of like you don't like the look of it. Rarely happens, and I'll tell you why. Imagine that we work with a tree grower. Moon's Tree Farm is a beautiful tree grower. I mean, they are so good, and they lean in on technology, and you're really never going to get a bad one because they're always wanting to put the best one from their lot to you. So they have an incentive not to give you a bad one because that tree has to go back to them if it's deemed. Now, the Moon's Tree Farm works with Scapify. So we have built their website for them. And if you're a grower, if you're a contractor, you can buy them direct from their website. Now, Surfscape also sells their trees too for more of the customer, more residential type market. And that data is exchanged through this data nursery, a kind of an ecosystem effect. But so you buy the tree, it's coming from Moon's Tree Farm, maybe directly to your site if it's a large caliper-sized tree. Maybe if it's a smaller tree, it's going to be aggregated with other tree growers' trees if you bought multiple varieties. And it's delivered right to the site. And if you selected, to have a local contractor install it for you, that local installer has already contacted you, maybe flagged where those trees are going to go and walk through those issues with you. It's installed. Surfscape takes a small percentage along the way of all these different services to be that bridge to connect them all. Hopefully that answered all the questions. You had a couple in there.
Yeah, well, now, and I think it's great because like you and I were chatting a little bit before the podcast, the vision for people's backyards or front yards or side yards is not always just having a tree removed or planting a tree there. You guys, it sounds like you offer other services, not only just the plants and the flowers. Do you offer flowers, or is it plants, trees, flowers, anything that can go in the yard?
Yeah, we say inspiration to installation. So that's inspiration, a lot of blog, like what do you do? Really trying to evoke what are you inspired to do? We have a full curated designer marketplace. What that means essentially is I think there's 15 designers on there that are independent. I'm on there, so I'm not. And then we welcomed our first arborist, which many more arborists are probably going to join now that it's been we're through our trial or pilot phase with him. And then you can buy plants. You can buy anything from a tree, shrub, grass, whatever, 40 farmers materials represented. We have, I think it's one of the largest catalogs of plants, anywhere. I think we even rivals, Site One in terms of their selection. Again, because we're working with a lot of undermarketed horticultural growers, people that they're not working with, we're able to offer a pretty wide selection and then offer installation. So we have about 90 contractors are now purchasing through Surfscape, and we've picked the top 3% of those. So there's 3 contractors roughly that have signed up to be our installation specialists. And those are the ones that field when a customer goes, all right, I bought the design from you. I picked out all my plants. Now, I've loved the process so far. I'm just going to have you manage the installation. So we help manage that installation. The local contractor gets the job done. We've done 71 one-click installations in the last 7 months.
Wow.
And so, one company couldn't do all that. Now, maybe one company could help coordinate 71 through technological advanced stuff, but we couldn't install them. So we just take this. We're just in it for that small percentage, and we're in it there. Really, the purpose, again, as our mission is at Surfscape, is to deliver that beautiful and resilient landscape. And when we talk about beauty and resilience, we're talking about like really aspirational goals. That's not like necessarily a true objective. It's not 12 trees. We don't. That's not our mission. Is to deliver 12 trees. It's to really bring beauty and resilience to your landscape. Because when homeowners want a landscape, they don't want just a fence. That's not like their goal. That's an objective. Meet their goal. Their goal is to have this wonderful place for their kids to enjoy and love being outdoors or being closer together or playing. That's their goal. The objectives are all the things that you got to do to make that happen. And I think that Surfscape and the model, the ecosystemic model that it's able to create, becomes a one-stop shop for the modern buyer of their landscape needs.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's almost like it's a full circle, right? So if someone comes in needing a tree planted, then you could help them with that. But then if there's other things, like they want a whole landscape design, or they need someone to come in and assess the other trees in their yard, it's kind of a one-stop shop for all of that, correct? Where you could team them up with other contractors that can help them with those things?
Absolutely. Yeah. As we've gone through, we met some great professionals and Fortune 500 companies that want to be associated with this. I'm not at liberty to say because we're in negotiation with a few of them, but I will say that some of the big landscape management companies are now interested in our model, but also the smallest. Just the one guy that. I think I'm most proud when we see somebody that wants buying through Surfscape that feels like they're not getting the time of day from some of the big plant procurement delivery folks, or they don't get credit, because now we have different ways to providing credit for people like underbanked landscape contractors. We have a financial tool to provide them, okay, here's a 6-week plan to pay that off. We have a lot of tools. Our chat bot can now be set in Spanish, so breaking through some of those barriers. So I don't want to grow so fast at the risk of not really serving the whole community.
And you're in Atlanta, so when you say community right now, you're in Atlanta. It's kind of Atlanta specific, but then you said you're moving into, it was at Greenville, North Carolina. You're kind of moving up.
Yeah, Surfscape is going to work in a network, kind of like a network spiderweb effect. So its scaling strategy is going to be relatively slow compared to most maybe other models that might franchise. We are going to move very slow because a lot of our growers that we're working with are between us and the city that we're going to move to. So so what's on the radar is Greenville, Chattanooga, Birmingham, the Panhandle, Jacksonville, Tallahassee. These are places where we already have network. We already have our grower network, and we already have some staff ready to go as they've been scouting, and already have some infrastructure and facilities that we've already kind of spoken to. So that's important for the scalability strategy of Surfscape. But Scapeify, the nice thing is, one of our best growers is in Connecticut. And so we just built a beautiful website for them. It's called Green Promise Farms. And, now Green Promise Farms delivers native plants all over the U.S. And so we are just fueling their, if you want to take it from the ground to the cloud, Scapeify is there to support that. And this company did, and they've been growing perennials for generations. And now they get to do it online. And we're just really proud to work with some of these growers that are furthering, some of our mission of these beautiful and resilient landscapes, but across the nation through some of the Scapeifying tools.
So that leads me to my next question. We're in Colorado, and if we had a customer here with our tree service that needed some kind of design plan or needed plans for their backyard or that kind of a thing, is that something that you could currently service, that they could go to a website and order the plans to be delivered, or not yet because you're maybe not out in this area?
No, well, Surfscape is definitely not in that area. And we're not working with any, Scapeify is not working with any clients in Colorado yet. If there was a local garden center or a local contractor, or if there was a tree company that wanted to build this network out, we would support them. Gotcha.
Okay. So it's a real opportunity for people to, that are in the green industry, especially, to get involved with, being able to offer another service to their customers.
Absolutely. Surfscape model, if you could imagine that it's 80% less capital expenditures than the traditional green store industry. So it's 60% OpEx. You need 60% less personnel and 80% less operational expenses for the same, let's call it the same $1 million of expense or revenue.
Right. Wow.
And its reach is wide in terms of services. Now, it is limited by geographical because, again, the delivery aspect. But not everybody wants the delivery aspect. Some people choose the shipping, which is fine.
And then I was going to ask you for the shipping. Could someone have it shipped though from like your Green Promise Farms in Connecticut? Would they? So if they wanted, so someone here could go online and get stuff shipped to them from some of the farms you deal with.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yep, that's awesome. And then they could just hire a contractor here locally to install it if they didn't want to install it themselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's really neat because when you look at, you and I were chatting a little bit. I mean, for us as a tree service, we get asked all the time, do you know someone that plants trees? Do you know this? And it's such a great opportunity for other services in the green industry to be able to team up with reputable farms and reputable places where people can get plants from. I mean, a lot of people go to the big box stores and that's okay. But sometimes by the time you get those plants home, they're half dead. They're not even alive. You're hoping they're going to hang on from the big box stores.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's a different, the big box stores have a different sales strategy in the sense that they have to make sure that looks like peak condition, peak bloom. And I think that any greens person is going to tell you that's the time that the plant is probably stressed out the most. Yep. To sort of plant it. So, I don't, listen, I'm not here to critique anybody else's way they do it, but I can speak to the plant, and the plant will tell you that, in its dormant state is when it's ready to thrive. And what I want to do is lead with great education and great grower integrity. And so I try to carry the grower's integrity forward. And I feel like that's my job. So to know the grower, to know how they're growing, what they're growing and why, and then bringing that forward to the consumer, it will catch up. And what I mean by that is, our Google reviews are really, really good. And the reviews, they say is the plant material looked very healthy. And then in 6 months, they always say the blooms were terrific. Yeah. They don't say I got the bloom, it was blooming off the chain. Maybe it is if they order it in season. But I think that the people that are really buying from Surfscape are slightly more educated, and we want to lean in on that. We want to provide not this like, oh, it's blooming, it's beautiful, buy now, but like why and when, because we can target all of our marketing for the right time to buy. Yeah.
And that brings you back to what I had just said. The big box stores definitely play a purpose because for the person that wants flowers in their pot right now in May at Mother's Day, you know what I mean? And they want them bloomed and they don't want to wait. They're just like immediate, like right now. I mean, I do that every year with my pots out front. I go down and I buy a bunch and put them in and, but what you're looking at is the long-term sustainability of a backyard, and let's plant it at the right time. Let's educate everyone. And so I think it's awesome. I think your concept is incredible because you're not only going to educate the customer and get them, understanding why we're planting at a certain time of year, like with dormant. I mean, it's just like with trees. Some trees are better off being trimmed and handled in the dormant season. They don't do well when you trim them in the summer and trim them when they're blooming and that kind of a thing. And so I think that's great. You've got a different purpose than someone going down and just purchasing, flowers for right now for the immediate. We need the blooms. We need the, that kind of a thing. And I think that's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I wanted to add was that I used to work at a local garden center. It's now not local. It's got bought out, but I just saw a lot of waste. I saw the 3 guys smoking cigarettes in the back when they should have been helping a customer. I saw, the plants, the shade-loving plants in the sun, and sun-loving plants in the shade. And I saw there was, I was just a high school kid too, and I didn't know what I was doing when people asked me questions and really couldn't answer all the questions. So I just saw a lot of things that I thought maybe there could be a better way. And when we think about what we're able to do with Surscape, some of the knock was, well, I really want to see the plant, which I totally understand. And then the other knock was, why do you want to be so far away from the customer? And to speak to the customer aspect is that I get to spend more time with my customers. I get to spend more one-on-one time. Maybe it's through video. And again, remember, we launched through COVID. So we were, digital first. And I think it proves that I now have a relationship with these people I have never truly met in person. At least, I don't want to say their names, but I know the top 10 customers. I mean, these people have ordered 20. We have people that have ordered 30 times.
Wow.
And we know we're on a first name basis.
Yes.
So I just don't know a lot of other industries that really being digital allows us to be closer and have more quality time with some of our loyal customers. Now the idea of you want to see the plant, I do think that that's like a huge sort of thing for all digital purchasing, right? I mean, this is for the fast growing tree, put it in a cardboard box type companies and this new delivery model that we're trying to pioneer. And what I say to that is that, and I tell our staff there, anybody that comes in on the marketing, is that we have to lift the digital veil on the plant buying experience and create a sensorial experience. How do we create a sensorial experience through a screen? And a lot of times that's a video of Devin, who's like our GM, smelling the plant, tasting it like a blueberry, like really kind of feeling it and talking about how it feels. And that kind of thing, I think, does kind of come across, and picking something off the yard, not like the perfect one, maybe picking 2 or 3 so that you can kind of see this sort of like differential. Because I think that's a level of authenticity and truth that people really need to see, not just the one glass case. This is the one, but here is a collection. I just pulled these off the delivery truck. They're about to go on another delivery truck. That kind of thing, I think, really breaks through this digital veil.
Well, and help me understand a little bit more about your chatbot that you were talking about, your AI chatbot.
Mastergardener.ai is an AI chatbot in which we use ChatGPT as the large language model, and we built a branch on it. And that's the best way to understand. It's like, this is a trunk of information that ChatGPT has amassed, and it's called the corpus of data. And what we did is we enabled a new corpus of data from university extension research. So this is the people that have been doing research for decades on these types of plant communities and plants. And we have been feeding Master Gardener AI this new information, this relevant information that might have been outside of ChatGPT. What we are doing at Scapeify is putting this chatbot, rebranding it for all the companies that want it. So you put your logo at the top, you call it your own. Surscape calls it Plant Nerd. Green Promise Farm calls it Native Plant Guide. We just got off the phone with a couple other businesses that want to a palm. So many customers have questions about palms, growing palms in Atlanta. Well, Palms Atlanta is very excited about looking into having the chatbot, so they can get some of their time back and answer their questions. So we're putting all the relevant information on their website into the chatbot. All this other sort of best management care information, PDFs, into the chatbot for them, so you can brand it. And then you can also create limitations on the search. So you ask, like, who won the World Series last year? It's not going to tell you. Maybe tells you a garden joke. Right. So that's really important. So limitations, what you feed it, and then the branding, and then also the persona. So are you talking to an academic? Are you talking to a high school level, maybe elementary level? You can kind of create the brand persona for how you want it to kind of interact with your clientele or community.
So then a customer could come, let's say, to our website, if we put that on our website, a customer could come to the website and ask about a particular plant for the area that they're in, and then it would give them some information. And so it's another way to educate your customers on your website, basically.
Yeah, they can ask questions, but also they could do so much more. That's just the tip of the iceberg. So much more. I say iceberg like a negative thing. It's like that's the it really is just so fascinating what you can do, what you can accomplish with these things. You can learn about methodologies. What's the best way to plant a tree, but what's the best type of tree for my location? Give me the history on this type of tree. Give me what are the best ways in which to use this type of wood for carpentry? I mean, there's just oodles and oodles. Give me a blog on this. Write an email that I need to send to my mom to convince her to buy that she needs to buy this type of tree. Really, prompt engineering is just a kind of big black box where you can just put anything in and something's going to come out. The more specific you get, the more specific answer you get. But AI gets better with every query, every question and response. So it's been just a remarkable journey over the last couple of weeks as we've launched.
Wow. It's really exciting, everything that you're doing. So could you share a little bit more, since that I'm in trees, I'm interested in the tree side of things. Share a little more with me about how this works with like an arborist that signs on with you to, like you were telling me about this other gentleman that had just met with you, and he's an arborist. He's your first arborist on board. How does that particularly work with somebody that's an arborist?
Yeah, so we have, it's important to note in e-commerce, you have two different types of marketplaces. You have a curated marketplace, and then you have a managed marketplace. And a managed marketplace is going to be where you're not forward with who is providing that service. And then on the flip side, a curated marketplace is you are forward with that name. So that name in this case is Tim McDowell. He's an arborist with Pelfrey Tree. It's an independently owned company, and he's just one arborist on their team. And he said, "Hey, can I join Surescape? I'm buying trees from you guys, and I see what y'all do, and I partner with a landscape designer from there. Can I join?" And we thought it was a great idea because we had been asked, to provide some required tree plans and health assessment on trees as we do these landscape designs. So we thought it would be a great fit. We fashioned a new product on the website called Required Tree Plan, which a lot of the municipalities are kind of leading toward, especially in our area. So we enabled it. He gets his jobs booked just like any other designer. He has his products. Surescape takes a small percentage to support the sale of that. We say three things. Surescape helps with SEO and sales, so we take a small percentage for that. We help with the drafting for him because we'll provide all the AutoCAD as long as he provides the information. And then the other thing is that we also do a lot of education. So we have a full design studio here in Chamblee, Georgia, which is fairly well centrally located. And he can come in anytime, and get access to the tools and education. We do seminars once a week. So he's always learning about what the new cool new plants are, cool new trees. He will be asked to do a seminar one Wednesday. So it's kind of like a cooperative in a way in which we can grow as a team, ultimately to be better service professionals for our clients.
Love that. That's awesome. Everyone working together to help people get their dream backyard or their dream goal of what they want in their yard, right?
Absolutely.
It's like like we were saying before, it's never one service that makes a yard beautiful. There's lots of different. It's kind of like when you build a home. There's different trades in the house.
Absolutely. We just in the architecture industry, they had the taxonomy to eloquently describe all the roles. In landscape, you hear clients just say, "I need a landscape,"
right?
And that's not a catch-all. There are landscape designers, there are landscape architects, there's certified arborists, there's irrigation specialists. There's multiple roles here. And whereas having been a landscape general contractor in my past, I recognize that there is a need for that, even on a small scale. Of course, not every client can afford that. So what is a way in which technology can jump in and provide a level of coordination at scale on a budget so that even the smallest budget homeowner can afford it and make use of it.
Yeah, I love it. It's a great concept. And I think your timing was impeccable, right? With launching this, and you didn't even know because you didn't know the timing was going to be that. But people since March of 2020 have really changed a lot of the ways that they go about buying things and the way that they go about, just doing business in general. And so that's really cool. I think that's really neat how your timing worked out with that. So tell me a little bit as we kind of wrap it up, how your vision for where you want things to go. I know you shared a little bit about that earlier, and kind of if you have any exciting new things that are getting ready to happen on the horizon, I'd be, interested to hear some of that.
Well, I would be remiss if I didn't say something to all entrepreneurs too, is like, this isn't my only startup. I have that first startup, which was a 4-year-old. And then, I welcomed another startup right after the launch of this one. So I have a 2 and a 4-year-old and then a 3-year-old business. And it's quite a juggle, I'm most proud of those other 2 startups. They are the ones that keep me up at night. They're the ones that, get me up early in the morning. And I wouldn't trade it for the world. I have been, had to kind of put this business venture into an 8-hour, I would say 45-hour a week, maybe 50-hour a week kind of window, because I have to be there. I have to be I'm the founder of those other 2 startups, and they're more important. So those, what they're doing next is like my greatest sort of reveal. But for the Surfscape and Scapeify side, we're really excited to launch that app. We're really excited to scale horizontally and vertically. Surfscape is now partnered with a couple of sod providers and hardscape providers, and really looking at the total package of materials, not just the live plants, but also the hard goods. And so we're going to be taking over the next year to figure out how to appropriately connect with local hard good providers and provide that level of, delivery service for those materials. And that's going to open up new contractors for us and new designers, more sort of experienced and seasoned landscape architects. So, as we develop that, we're really excited. And then also a lot of the marketing channels. We are launching a new magazine called Scapes of the South this next month in August. And Scapes of the South is essentially just the stories of the people, the place, the plants, and the purpose of everything that we're doing. And it's a story on Tim, where he came from, what he's doing, and what projects he's been able to help with. It's a story on Bernie, who was a medical illustrationist turned landscape designer 10 years ago and found a home at Surfscape and has just taken off. It's a story on a lot of these designers and contractors and really some of the plants. So we're excited to launch Scapes of the South. And we've been going to a lot of conferences and talking to a ton of growers and garden centers about Scapeify. So some of our newest clients that are going to be jumping on board over the next 30 to 90 days, we're just thrilled to partner with them. Nothing, getting the sale is nice, but, forging the partnership with the quality that these professionals of such integrity and what they're doing and having mission alignment. One of the growers, can't say their name right now because we're in negotiation, but one of they're growing a lot of native trees and they're distributing them all across the nation. And I just like to be, if I can be a little wind beneath their sails, then, and we're on mission alignment, we're headed in the same direction. That gives us and the team so much satisfaction for what we're doing.
I love that you have so much going on and so much vision for where you guys are headed. And you touched a little bit on your first 2 startups, which I would agree are the most important for sure. having had 2 children myself, your greatest gift, right? And the spot where you want to put the most energy in, it's the most important energy, really. But having said that, what are some of the keys that you do to make sure that you're able to put that time into your first 2 startups, and and juggling all of this that you have going on, and the balance of this? Because I know as entrepreneurs, we know nothing is ever truly ever perfectly in balance. Sometimes the pendulum swings way one way and way the other way. But what are some of the key things that you do as an entrepreneur to keep all of this going with Servscape, and keeping all of this going, but really focusing on your main focus of being your first 2 startups?
With Servscape and Scapeify, I'm talking to a number of venture capitalists. We just finished our angel round, our pre-seed round, or whatever you want to call it. And we're now talking about a seed round. And I've had to tell them that I'm a solo founder, which is not true, because my wife has been there for every ounce of this. And, she's a very successful CEO of a small business. She did not she was one of the founder of the business, but she is the leader and has done very well. But the point of saying all that is that she is the co-founder, right? She's the co-grounder. So she keeps everything very, very well grounded to what are the priorities and what do we need to be doing. I'll get a call at 5:45 this afternoon, and I get a call at every 5:45 afternoon saying, I've picked up the last girl. We'll see you at home. What's for dinner? So we know that our first and foremost, our company number one is the family, and then everything else has to kind of fit around that. And we're on the same page on that. And we have mission alignment, and we talk about these with our partnerships in business, but we have to have it at home because that gives us the joy, right? We're not doing it for the objective. We're not doing it so that our kids get, an A on the test or something, or some other objective that really doesn't mean anything. As long as they say, I love you, daddy, and love you, mommy, and I had the best day ever. Those are the things. That's the reason why you kind of do all of it. And I would say that, kind of in closing, like, this entrepreneurial ride can feel very lonely, and especially if you're a quote unquote solo founder. But if you have a team approach with your employees or back home at the company, at the home company, you feel very well supported emotionally, which really can build the resilience that you would really need to sustain all of the trials and tribulations of starting anything. And I just want to bifurcate resilience very quickly and say that there's always going to be acute challenges that come to your business, like somebody stole a vehicle. Like, that doesn't happen every day, but you got to get through it. But there's also drip of laziness and apathy, and sort of there's like chronic issues that you have to deal with as well. And I think to really, what we say, thrive, we want landscapes to thrive. We want our people to thrive. We want our families to thrive. You have to be resilient, and you have to have this team approach, we always go back to this ecosystemic sort of approach. And I think success, whatever that is for anybody, it will be found.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. I really love that. And I love the fact that your family is number one. I think a lot of people think maybe family isn't their number one priority, but whatever their number one priority is, I think a lot of people have a missed idea with entrepreneurship that your number one has to now be number two, and because you're now building this business, and it doesn't have to be that way. And I think that's great that you recognize the focus, you recognize what's important, and yet you're still building an empire. I mean, your business is growing drastically. It sounds like over the last, since you started, you've just barely been in business 3 years, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's growing at the speed and the space that can allow with all the other goals and missions that we have. So, feel very fortunate, and but it's not. I mean, it's not without it's not all rainbows.
No.
Trust me, it's not all rainbows. I think for the outside looking in, it can be like, oh, you got it. Y'all are going to be huge. You hear that. I reminded of this movie that I watched called Hoop Dreams, where they chronicalized two young basketball athletes through middle school to high school, and they would always have people be like, don't forget about me when you make it big. Their fans are talking about them, and there's that one line where "Where are you going to remember me when I don't? When I don't make it, are you going to remember me then? Will you still be kind to me? Will you still be supportive if I don't?" So, just as much as I know that success is right around that corner, whatever that is, you gotta know that there's always threats. There's always this leering way in which apathy, laziness, wrong direction, bad decisions can sink a ship.
Oh, for sure.
And you got to be very diligent and have a resilient team and keep moving. Can't wait. Don't wait on the vanity to kind of pour in and sink your ship.
Yeah. Well, and every entrepreneur journey is a different journey, right? Every business is totally different. The blueprint is not exactly the same because everyone has, just like what you're saying, things that they come up against and they face and things that they're gonna do, but it's what you're gonna do with that, and if you're gonna learn from that, and if you're gonna get back up when the tough gets tough, and it will get tough. Every business owner knows it's definitely not all rainbows for sure. So
yeah, I put my I got a couple of words behind me, and then the one I reach for the most is the bottle of Tums.
Right.
So it doesn't. Any success comes with cost.
Sure.
And so, it's there.
Yeah, for sure. But it's worth it. It's all hopefully worth it in the end, for sure. So tell everyone where they can find you, where they can find Scapeify and, Surfscape, and just let us know where everyone can get in contact with you.
Yeah, check out the model or proof of concept, surfscape.com. Let me know what you think. I'm Mario at Surfscape. And then Scapeify.com. You can check out the AI chatbot there, or Surfscape, and you can see all the services. If you're in the green industry, if you're a grower or garden center, or even a contract, we've actually did one pilot with a contract, and you want to expand your services digitally and try this new model, let us know. We'll be happy to help.
So awesome. Thank you so much for chatting with me today and talking, and I've enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed your video. I would encourage everyone to go. I think it was on Surfscape that I watched the video. Really explains your whole concept there, and I enjoyed that. That was a really well done video, and I enjoyed watching it. So I would encourage everybody else to go and watch that. And thanks for chatting with me today. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, Michelle.
Thank you.